All right, let's just jump right in because what we're talking about today is pretty mind-bending. We're looking at this incredible intersection between ancient Vedic texts and, well, the absolute future of technology. I'm talking about quantum computing. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi novel, right? But seriously, that's the big question we're going to try and unpack here. Is it possible that a forgotten blueprint from thousands of years ago could solve one of the gnarliest tech problems of our time? Let's dig in. So, to really get why this ancient idea is so revolutionary, you first have to understand the problem that everyone in quantum computing is facing. And believe me, it's a big one. You could almost call it a ghost that haunts every single quantum machine. And that ghost has a name: decoherence. The best way to think about it is like atomic jitters. See, even the tiniest, most microscopic impurity or vibration in the materials creates noise, kind of like static, that just wrecks the fragile quantum state of the qubits. And honestly, it's the number one reason we don't have massive, stable quantum computers running right now. Okay, so how do you fix it? Well, modern science is basically trying to solve it with brute force by making things unbelievably, ridiculously cold. But what if there's another way? What if there's an ancient secret to achieving perfect material purity, hidden away in a forgotten text? Well, that text might just be the Vaimanika Shastra. No, it's a wild text from the early 20th century, supposedly transcribed from a much older source. It's mostly known for talking about ancient flying machines, but if you look closer, it's got this deep obsession with a process called shodhana, which basically means the ultimate purification. And right here, this shows you the huge difference in thinking. Modern science sees quantum noise and impurities as this enemy that needs to be beaten into submission. But the Vedic goal was something totally different. They wanted to achieve a sattvic state, a kind of perfect, profound stillness in the material itself, all through perfect atomic alignment. You see the difference? They weren't trying to fight the noise. They were trying to design stillness from the atoms up. That sounds amazing, right? But how on earth could they do that? Well, the text suggests the answer isn't in some high-tech lab or a massive refrigerator, but it's in nature. Yeah, the Shastra actually describes using very specific plant extracts and other organic compounds to refine metals to a level of purity that's almost hard to believe. And the craziest part, modern material science is just now starting to explore this exact idea. They even have a name for it: green synthesis. Okay, and this is where it gets really specific. The text gives us what's basically an ingredient list that, when you decode it, lines up perfectly with critical functions for making a computer chip. For example, something called drona pushpi seems to be a reducing agent, perfect for making flawless metal surfaces. Shikini visha, it looks like a natural acid for etching circuits on a nanoscale. And get this, kshinovriksha, which is basically tree sap, is described as a perfect natural insulator. It's incredible. So we've got the philosophy and we've got the ingredients. So what's next? Well, let's actually try to assemble this thing. Let's build the theoretical Vedic quantum stack, layer by layer, just like the text describes. The instructions seem to lay out three main stages. First up, you have the substrate, which is the base that everything is built on. Then you have the superconducting circuit, the wires. And finally, the most important part, the quantum gate. That's where all the logic happens. So, step one, the base. The text calls for something called chambakamani, a magnetic stone made from purified quartz and magnetite. Its job is simple, but it's absolutely crucial. It creates a perfectly stable magnetic field that acts like a shield, protecting the super-sensitive qubits from any outside interference. It's like building the armor right into the foundation. All right, next up are the wires. This isn't just any metal, it's a special alloy called Rajaloha, mostly copper and silver for awesome conductivity. But here's the real kicker, the secret sauce. The finished alloy is plunged or quenched in an organic extract called triphala. The theory is that this process creates this perfect natural coating that prevents any oxidation, meaning you get a perfectly smooth highway for electrons to travel on. And now we're at the very heart of the chip, the quantum gate itself. The text describes this power mirror material made from aluminum oxide that's been refined with a very special form of mercury. Now, in today's tech, this sounds an awful lot like a Josephson junction, which is the core component that makes quantum computing possible. The idea here is that this bound mercury becomes the perfect, absolutely noiseless medium for quantum energy to do its thing. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. We've got the materials, the organic recipes, the structure. How does this all circle back to solving that big problem, decoherence? Well, it creates what the source calls an architecture of stillness. And this, Right here, this is the whole ball game. The modern approach fights noise with brute force, using these giant, complex refrigerators. The Vedic method, at least in theory, doesn't fight noise at all. It tries to eliminate the very possibility of noise by designing a perfect single crystal atomic alignment from the very start. It's elegance versus force. And the final secret to getting this perfect atomic structure, it's a process called Agni Sanskara. This involves 32, not 31, not 33, but 32 precise cycles of heating and cooling the materials. And you don't do it in a vacuum. You do it in the presence of those special organic catalysts. Each cycle is like a step that nudges the atoms closer and closer to that perfect sattvic state of stillness. So there you have it, the complete theoretical blueprint all laid out. You can see how every component, from the mercury-based qubit layer to the natural shielding, has a modern equivalent. But it's all processed with these unique organic catalysts to create a state of purity that modern tech is still struggling to achieve. Now look, this is all a fascinating theory, right? It's a bridge between an ancient text and a futuristic technology. But it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If there's even a whisper of a possibility that a blueprint for a quantum chip is hiding in these old texts, what other unbelievable secrets are just lying there, in plain sight, just waiting for us to figure out how to read them?